right. We were talking about how our week's been and stuff like that. But yeah, so what's up with you, Tiana? Tell us, how's your week? How's life treating you?
Um, Pretty good. Can't complain.
Word.
Yeah. Um, how was you guys' weekend?
I mean, it was okay. It was good for the most part. I mean, despite dealing with shoplifters at work, that's what I gotta deal with. That's what happens when you work retail, shoplifters and kicking them out and stealing deodorants and stuff. But it is
Oh,
what it is. Yeah, but it is what it is. Angela was talking about how she had a girls' night, a girls' date out. I'm sorry, how would you say that?
Just like a girls' day. I have two daughters. They're teenagers, and they've been kind of harassing me to get, their hair kind of done for the summer. So I had some
oh,
fun with
that
that.
sounds
So
cute.
yeah, it was fun. I'm looking actually to go visit my high school best friend tomorrow. So Andy, you know what? I'm going on another little day trip. So you know what I
Oh
mean.
my God.
Where's your
I was
best
just
friend? Where's your best friend? You said you're gonna go on a day trip?
Yeah, she's in Columbus, so she's like only about like 2.5 hours out. So not bad at all.
Oh, that's a nice little drive.
I don't mind. I love driving. I think in my previous life, I must have been like a truck driver or something
oh,
because I just love
oh
it.
God. See, I'm more of a bike rider. I'll ride a bike to Jersey City from where I'm at. I don't mind. If it's nice out, I love to bike ride or go on a scooter and just start driving around. But like to drive an actual car, I'm scared to drive a car. The way these, especially like in the tri-state, people drive like maniacs. I don't know if it's like that in Ohio or where you guys are from. You tell me.
No,
Yeah, Jersey drivers are very angry and impatient, so it's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
my
Well,
my
but
theory is, Andy, I'm sorry because uh, just recently, since February, I've been basically doing all these little like trips. I've been to Jersey, I've been to Pennsylvania, I've been all over. I've been to Chicago for a couple like work trips and stuff like that. But like that's kind of like what I've been doing this year. But when it comes to Jersey, I think you guys never learned how to turn left, and that's like really
oh my
that's the whole issue, and that's why you pick a lane, you don't move because you never had to learn how to figure out how to
hmm
turn left. I mean, I'm totally making that up. I don't need any hate
No,
mail.
no. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but I realized anything tri-state, whether it's like New York, Jersey, or even Connecticut, I notice. I've been to Pennsylvania, and it's just like, okay, what the hell's going on here? I've been to Chicago, and it's a less condensed version of New York, but it's not as crazy in that regard. At least the times I've been to Chicago, but yeah, I don't know if anyone could tell what's left and what's right is the problem as far as the tri-state area, especially New York, because yeah.
Yeah, New
Oh
York is a
man,
crazy drivers
word,
sometimes. I don't
word,
drive in New
word.
York. I
I can't,
wouldn't dare.
can't. I only go to New York to see my mom, but other than that, it's like, okay, yeah, this is crazy. I've been trying to convince her to move. She will not move with me, no matter how hard I try. I have a spare room. She just refuses. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm not gonna get into this argument with her. But anyway, enough about me. Enough about Angela.
That's
We're
right.
here to talk about you.
We're not
Yes,
here
and
to
I
talk
know
about
you're.
us.
Let's talk about what you're doing right now as we speak, because I know you have a separate page about that. So tell us about what you do, why you do it, and what it's all about. Go.
Yeah, this is pretty spectacular. I'm actually pretty excited about this.
Oh, I learned how to crochet when I was pregnant because I wanted to make my baby things, and now I just kept it up as a hobby. So
Nice.
that's mhm.
It's
So
not
what's
just a
the
hobby because I know how to knit, but crocheting to me is very difficult for some reason. Even though it's a single needle, to me I don't get it. But you're not just crocheting; you've crocheted some pretty spectacular things. Like this is not just like this beginner. Like I can do a scarf and I've done like a hat before, but you make some like pretty incredible things like dolls and stuff like that. Do you have what are like your skill level's kind of up there?
she's
I don't know. I
too
mean, I think it's like
modest.
no, I think it's like pretty easy when you read the pattern. Like you just follow the instructions and it just works out like how it's supposed to come out. So I don't really think like it's a skill. I think like if you just follow the instructions, it just comes out that way. So
Wait, but when you
yeah.
say instruction, you mean what? There's a manual for this, and you just follow it. Like I'm curious because I don't know nothing about crochet. I know my sister does that. I mean, it's been a while, but she was such a fanatic of crocheting, especially when my niece was a little bit younger. She used to make these dresses and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just curious because I know nothing about this crocheting thing.
Um, yeah, it's like an instruction manual. Like you know your basic stitches, and then the manual says, do these X amount of stitches and X amount of rows, and it just you start getting it. Like once you start doing it, then you don't really need the manual anymore because you just start getting it.
So
It's
a
not
lot
that
of
difficult.
right. No, no, but a lot of the stuff that you make though is are everything you do like instruction manual wise, or are some of the stuff that you're like, hey, I want to make that, and it just comes up with you on the fly, like kind of like poetry. Does it work the same way for you?
When I first started, I would just like follow the patterns um, by the book because I didn't know what I was doing. But as I started, I would start out looking at a pattern, but once I understood structurally how it was done, then I just kind of did my own thing because I just knew how to do it. So I didn't really need to follow the pattern. So like I'll probably start with the pattern just to see how to structurally do it, but then, just do my own thing because I know how to structure it, I guess.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And if you're just joining us, I'm just reading the comments real quick. Um, so the pretty provocative poet wants to know, what are you crocheting? And the clinical underscore insomniac says, I love crocheting.
Right now, crocheting a cardigan. I guess it started off as like a hoodie and now it's a cardigan, so it's gonna stay that way. But yeah, I go camping a lot, so I needed a nice thick sweater for camping. So I just
Wow.
decided to do the hoodie to kind of practice.
That's awesome.
So,
How long would that take to do a
Yo.
hoodie? How long does that take to do a complete hoodie from start to finish?
honestly, I'm not too sure
Mm-hmm.
because I do it like sporadically, like here and there when I have extra
Mm-hmm.
time. I don't really work on it straight through. So this is taking me quite some time, but I imagine if you had time, it would probably take like a day or two if you just, did it just straight through. But yeah, it takes me a while. I don't do it like every day or anything.
Clinical insomniac is asking, what kind of yarn are you using? She's helping us with the
Oh,
question, so thank
I
you.
love it. Welcome to Craft Chat.
Oh, you
um,
just gave us an idea, but go ahead.
hold on. I'm using Karen anniversary cakes and what happened was these were like on sale at like discount and I didn't know they were being discontinued. So like I didn't buy enough of one of them at all to make this. So just kind of like just a combination of what I had. So that's why it's like so many different colors and stuff. But yeah.
Mm. All right. So what would you say? Because Angela was talking about knitting, you're talking about crocheting. Like I know anything yarn related, I know there's different types of art when it comes to that. But when it comes to knitting and crocheting, what is the actual? Is there like if what is the major difference between the two, if any?
Two
Uh
needles versus one needle.
yeah.
That's how I know it. Knitting is you're thinking of the grandma in the rocking chair with the two needles and the ball of yarn. And crochet is
Oh,
like a little hook needle. And it's kind of like you kind of hook it through, like hook and ladder is kind of like the
wait. So
terminology.
what's the one that comes in like? Because I see people have like a plastic thing with a bunch of, and then they'll just start.
That's kind of
Know,
like a
is
loomish kind of a thing, but
okay.
it's not exactly a
Like,
loom.
but it's not a. But is that considered knitting or is that considered crocheting though? That's when Tianna comes in.
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know what you was referring to. I was confused.
No, so there's like this plastic thing. Looks like that it has a bunch of holes, and it's like usually a square or something, and people make designs out of it. Like I see people do like the
Oh,
Puerto Rican flag or
like a
whatever
loom?
that is.
Yeah, I think it's a loom.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that what that? Okay, I wasn't
If
sure.
it's
That's why.
with a
So I
loom, I
was.
think that's knitting. But to
Yep.
answer
Oh yeah, she
cynical,
said it's a loom.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Thank
schemes
you.
are
Thank
like
you.
super expensive, so I just buy them when they're on clearance because I don't have time to be shopping for really expensive stuff. It's just a hobby.
But do you make money? Like, I mean, not make money, but do you? Because on your page, I noticed you have a separate page that talks about the crocheting. But you're just this. Is it the same way? Like, oh, this is my poetry page. This is my crocheting page. Like, is that all that is though? As far as your other page that you do?
Yeah, at first, like the other page was my personal page, and then the art page was just like all of my hobbies in one. But um, since I'm doing poetry more, I decided to separate the two so it could be more organized, you know?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's what it's too. Because this platform page used to be my Well, it's funny because this was a platform, then it became my poetry page, and then it was a poetry page, a platform that was back to a poetry page, and it became a platform page again, and I just made a separate one. But I know what you mean as far as like keeping them separate and stuff like that. So now that we're talking about the poetry aspect, talk to us about your poetry. Like, when did it start exactly, and in what ways has it changed for you as far as in your writing process?
Um, I think poetry's probably started for me like in elementary school sometime. Um, but I've always like enjoyed reading like Dr. Seuss books and, like rhymes and stuff like that. So I've always kind of like, I guess, enjoyed it before I started writing it. And then I think I started writing in class, and then I enjoyed it, so I just didn't stop. I mean, I didn't write consistently all this time. I would take a break, come back, take a break, come back, and then it just was like a therapy kind of thing, like something to like a I don't know, like a way to express myself without like a healthy way to express myself.
Mm. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that because I think that's how it is for me too when I write. Because when I was writing, I just wrote because my dad used to write a lot, and my brother used to write raps, and I'm just like, okay, I want to write just because, but I didn't think it was gonna take me anywhere. And again, now I look back, I'm like, oh wow, this really. I feel like poetry accesses parts of your brain that we probably didn't know even was there, and then when we look back, it's like, hmm. Like I didn't know I even wrote this way, or I didn't know I could even think a certain way for me to write it like that, if that makes sense. Why don't you give us a example of how you write? Like, just show us.
What do you mean, like, um,
Oh,
like when I first started writing, I was always like obsessed with like rhyming, but I feel like I don't know, within the past maybe like 3 years, it's been a little bit different. Like I still rhyme a little bit in my poems, but it's not completely focused on the rhyme
mm,
like it used to
mm.
be. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now that makes sense. I'm not good at rhyming. Like maybe it'll happen by accident, but I'm not like a rhymer, if that makes sense. Like maybe I'll have a sentence. Oh, that went with that sentence. But like you said, I'm not really focused on the rhyme. I just want to get the thoughts out.
Of course,
But
Andy. Come on, Andy.
because we have a
I
lot of
must
influence to
say.
unravel.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm kind of free form as well, kind of like that unconscious or subconscious free form, free flow poetry that, like you said, when it comes through that therapeutic point, you kind of just go from a starting point and it just unravels, kind of just like you said, where you kind of just see where it unfolds, seeing what because sometimes it's layered and you don't even know what's there until you start writing, and then all of a sudden it kind of appears out of nowhere. Is that kind of your experience? Have you ever felt like that as you're writing?
Yeah. My problem with writing freely instead of like rhyming was like I felt like my poems were unorganized like when I started them. they were just random thoughts. They were unorganized, and it wasn't something that like flowed automatically. It was just like things that were coming in pieces, and I had to organize it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas though
Cluttered.
when I was, yeah, when I was rhyming, it was kind of easy because, you know, like once you're stuck in a rhyme pattern, you know, your
Mm-hmm.
brain just
Mm-hmm.
kind of finds the pattern in the words. So
Absolutely.
it's not
Yeah.
that hard.
It is. It's kind of like I'm glad. I'm kind of interesting that you mentioned that. Absolutely, because when you are following kind of like a Villanelle style rhyme scheme, you get to use that rhyme zone and power thesaurus to kind of blend the two together. So you have the feeling, and you get to use the rhyme scheme to kind of blend its way. Like you said, it's a little easier as you're unfolding. You're like, oh my God, does this sound clunky or does this sound like genius? You know, because
Yeah.
sometimes that unwind is like a beautiful tornado and you're rolling down a hill. Andy, have you ever rolled down a hill as a child?
No, I see. I used to live in public housing, so there was
Mm.
no hills where I used to live at. Remember, I used to live in Brooklyn, New York, so there was no
Okay.
hills. I mean, other than like if you go to Harlem, but not, I know what you meant by a hill, but no, there was none of that kind of stuff. There was no
Well,
mountain or anything like
well, my
that. But
grandma's
Marif,
apartment had like just a little one. But again, it's like a child. When you
yeah,
roll down the hill, it's chaotic, but it feels kind
yeah.
of good. It's you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, if you mean metaphorically, then yeah, I think we've all, especially in my poetry, I've rolled down hills metaphorically to a point where I'll look at, like, I can show you every paper, every napkin that I have to this day that I wrote and thought. Like you said, I was the same way, very disorganized. I just wrote things just to write them down, and then eventually it made itself into a, it made itself onto a piece later on in life, like maybe 10 years like later or something. Like that's just how it happened for me. But yeah, I guess if you mean that regarding, yeah, I think that's what rolling down a hill is for me.
Mm-hmm. Um, Tianna, do you think transitioning to more of a freestyle has been more of like an evolution, as almost like you're becoming more layered or more intricate with your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I think like with becoming more freestyle in writing,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm influenced a lot also by like spoken word, you know, like since I found the poetry platform on Instagram and I've been, you know, like expanding on my knowledge of poets in the community and with everybody's different writing style, I feel like, you know, like sometimes I'm influenced writing by how it would sound rather than, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
how it would read on the paper. So,
Absolutely. You know what? This would be a really good opportunity for us to kind of get a sample of like your style right now. Do you have something ready to share with us, or because we I think
um,
this would be a great opportunity before we go into more of your inspiration as you're exploring through.
yeah, I do. Give me one second.
No worries. Andy, I'm looking forward to after we hear a piece from our guest here. You know, like as Tianna said, she's been exploring all the different types of poetry communities. You know, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've experienced through that. So, but are you all set?
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Um, I think I did this one before on you guys' platform, but I
That's all
like it.
right.
So,
I love it. I love when we play the greatest hits. That's what you know what I mean?
hmm it's called I Wonder If God Was Lonely. Here we go. Alone again, as I always am, as God was before he created the earth. Maybe he made up a whole world in his head to occupy the loneliness, as I often do. And maybe that didn't work. So he kept going until there was a universe, a multiverse. Maybe original sin didn't begin with the mistrust of a woman. Perhaps it began with loneliness. Loneliness so vast it drove a sentient being mad. So mad it was only a matter of time before its boiling point. A big bang. They say God created us in his image. That is only half true. The scripture reads, we were created in his likeness. Are we all just walking diary pages of different emotional stages? Some of us are complete, physically beautiful, capable, and able like most days. Some of us are lost, incomplete, and unstable, in dismay. Some of us are crumpled up pieces of paper that just don't make it. Is this what they mean? Is this the likeness of the Most High Being? Are we all just afterthoughts, searching for our purpose because we are a product of loneliness, alone in a world full of people, alone in a universe of unfrequented dwellings, abandoned by the Creator? I wonder where Yahweh is now. I wonder if he even cares. Does he still love us? Or has he been working on this project for so long, the more he stares at it, the more he hates it? So he abandoned it before he destroyed it again for the millionth time, as we creatives do, suffering from self-doubt, imposter syndrome. The prophets claim he will return. I wonder if he'll love us again. If he spent enough time away, he'll see the beauty in the things he made. Ultimately, I wonder if we will be saved. Are we the masterpiece of his time, or a rough draft for something better?
Wow. Wow. Because I wrote down some stuff too.
Andy, yeah, go ahead. I
Wow.
know you have some reactions to this. Absolutely. Andy, what do you got for us?
Man, it's very thought provoking. Wow. You know what it is too? Because I know this is stuff that atheists thinks about, but I love the fact that, there are Christians that think like this too. There are people who believe in God and who believe in Jesus that think this way too, but it's not talked about enough in that circle of Christianity, if that makes sense. And there was a lot of things that came to mind where you said the whole rough draft thing, like that is crazy because I thought about, I believe it was Noah's Ark in the Bible where he was trying to get all the animals onto the ship or the boat, and then whatever he destroyed, he destroyed. But he said that the rainbow represents, okay, like this is a new beginning, this is all new, whatever. And it's interesting because I, I wonder, like, was that the first rough draft? It didn't work out, so now the Noah's time, this is the other draft. But then when Jesus came around, is this the another draft? And then now are we another rough draft? And it's just interesting because everybody keeps talking about the end times, this and this, that, and the mark of the beast and all this stuff. And it just makes you wonder sometimes. Like even me being a born again myself, this is stuff I wonder about, right? Because I feel like especially in today's circle, and I don't mean today as in like today, I mean today as in like the last 10, 15 years of people believing, and I'm pretty sure this has always been a thing, but I feel like it's gotten worse and worse where it came to, like, when it comes to things of God, there's more compromise than there's ever been in years before.
What do you
Like
mean
the
there's
part,
more compromise?
yeah, because people don't really, like, not all the time, but like when I mean compromise, like they're willing to, like, how do I explain it? Like they're willing to, like you know you shouldn't do this, but you're willing to do it just to please other people or something because you don't want people to think of you a certain way. Like that's just an example. Or you'll take the word of God and they'll misquote it to fit their agenda type thing. But it's just a lot of that. And one thing that caught my eye when you said the draft, and then the part says crumbled up pieces of paper that don't make it. And it just makes you wonder, like that line really stuck to me because I'm like, are those people who don't, they say they're walking in God's power but not really, are those the crumble paper that don't make it? Or what about the people that we think are following God? Like let's say for example, am I the crumble people that don't make it? Because maybe this whole time I feel like I'm thinking I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I realize that's not the case. Like there's so many directions you could take that, and I think that's what really really struck a nerve in me. And then the part where he said, would he love us again will we be saved? And then those two lines really struck me. And I feel like it's thought provoking to the point where this is something we got to think about, because I think people think, oh, yeah, God's going to forgive us and that's it. But is it really that? Like, is it really like this? And I think that's realistic to think about. I mean, I don't know if that's how you were taking it, but that's just the way it spoke to me, that part of your piece. And I think we're so focused on and the part where he says mistrust of women. I think we're so focused on the blaming, oh, where did this come from? But then I think what all comes down to is we should be accountable for ourselves first, I guess, if that makes sense, to a point where, okay, what could I have done to prevent that, rather than saying, oh, well, it's her fault or it's his fault. I don't know. But this is just different things that came to mind with that piece. And I don't know, man. It's so, I love that. That's why when we spoke privately, that's why I said, please read that, because when you first read it, it was just like, wow. And I'm happy
Andy,
you read that piece again. Wow.
I couldn't agree more that it absolutely was a think piece. Tianna, did you want to respond to what Andy said first before I throw a few things in there? Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that you heard my poem and then now you're real deep into thought about it. I'm a little taken back,
I'm really,
a lot of times we just write poems and then just share them with people not really thinking, but then here you are really scrutinizing and it's okay, cool.
Oh my God. No, thank you. Thank you. No, I'm that. When I read, whether it's the Bible or whether it's a story or whatever, I like to dissect things like crazy. That's why teachers in school used to be like, okay, can we get to the point? No, but you don't understand. I feel like there's always another perspective that is not talked about here. I'll give you a quick example before you continue. I'm sorry, I just really had to get this out. There's a story in the Bible where Paul and Silas got arrested and stuff like that. And it talks about, at midnight they started praising. But what I think about is, what about they don't talk about the time they got arrested all the way to the time of midnight. What happened between those times? The Bible does not even talk about that. But I think about that. Okay, but what were they going through? What conversation were they having? What strategy did they come up with that made them say, okay, fine, let's praise God at midnight? I think about the between part that the Bibles don't touch. I don't know. I'm just very like that with anything.
That's good. I think that's great, Andy, and I think that's incredible that you do think like that. Andy, a few things. I also connected to Tianna with your whole piece. A lot of times when it comes to not necessarily atheism or people who are atheists, and also Andy, like you said, people who are devout Christians or devout, whatever their religion. If there is a God, why would they allow these kinds of tragedies? So that's always that question came to mind as kind of always, in the back of our minds, that came through for me. And then Andy, when you were describing your own connection too, with the whole starting over piece, as far as your interpretation of what the New Testament could be, as far as connecting it to, our piece right here, as far as starting over, it kind of reminded me of the whole concept of, when, with reincarnation and certain religious beliefs, when you are reincarnated, you become more enlightened. So each draft becomes better and better and better. So I kind of thought, that was kind of really cool that, you kind of touched on that, which even connected it even more to kind of a universal theme here. So Tianna, what about your perspective? Can you give us some more insight to what your thoughts were when you created that piece? Because again, Andy, I'm glad you asked for this. It's a great piece for sure.
No, yeah, that's just real quick, because I did get some questions here, and I just want to remind people, because I know there are people requesting here, but I just want to make sure, guys, this is not an open mic tonight. This is just an interview conversation segment. I mean, if you guys have questions, that's fine, but the open mic's only on Friday nights, so I just want to make sure so that there's no confusion here. But yeah, this is not an open mic tonight. This is just a conversation with Tianna. Just having a conversation. If you guys have questions, you could definitely jump in.
Absolutely.
So just wanted to,
and we want Andy, just to add too, we do want to know what your thoughts are, so please contribute.
Yeah, like I said, if you had a thoughts,
conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if you, I guess if you guys want to jump in just to ask her questions or just to touch on something on what we're talking about, that's perfectly fine as well. But there was a question on here by the pretty provocative poet, and it says, "What do you write about most in your poetry?" Was a question.
Ooh, what do I write about most? Uh, I guess these days would be inner struggle and like, yeah, just searching for something and inner struggle. I think that's what I write about mostly today.
Mm,
But I mean, like, that's my problem with writing. I mean, I use it a lot just to vent about how I'm feeling a lot, sometimes, or to express myself about, just anything. But also, I want to be like well versed, like I want to be able to write to prompts, not just like from my emotions. Like, I want to have better control of my creativity. I don't want to just be emotionally driven. I want to, so yeah, writing is a
wow.
struggle sometimes. It's like a struggle between, because if I feel like if I think about writing some about a certain subject, I get stuck and I start trying to force a poem and then I don't like it.
Mm,
I hate it. So I don't want to do it.
yeah.
My most now my emotional poems. So when I have to write to a prompt sometimes, it's a struggle, but the more I do it, the better I get at it.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, it's usually, yeah. See, like, I don't know. Okay, because the way I write, it's a little bit weird because it's whatever my mind comes up with. I feel like if I don't write it down, I'm gonna forget it. But I feel like it's an inner struggle, and like I know, I feel like I write a lot about reflection and inner struggles for sure. Like I'll write about stuff like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, but I know I shouldn't feel like this. But then I'll write about something that happened, but then I'll write another piece of a different perspective of that event that happened because I feel like, well, they could have been a different way, kind of thing. So, yeah, I guess reflection and inner struggle would be something. What about you, Angela?
The struggle is absolutely real over here. So of course, inner struggle is absolutely something that I love to, kind of twist out of my body. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you is when you write about these things that, that are commonplace, but yet they're so personal and raw and poetic, but yet again, they connect us because we all share similar, struggles. Does it make you feel like you're able to learn from it? Do you feel better? Is it a catharsis? Like, how do you feel afterwards, or do you feel sometimes worse after writing an inner struggle piece?
Oh no, I have to get it out. I mean, like once I write it, it's like, I got it out, good or bad. Like I have to get it out. But I joined I don't know if you know Cynical Insomniac. She has this Misfits group that I joined. Anyways, it's been helping me a lot with my writing because, we have like weekly prompts and stuff like that. So I feel like I've been getting a lot better, with like writing prompts and stuff, but also it's helped me more in my emotional writing too because I can control my creativity a little bit more. And it's not just pure emotions and pure just words. It's like actually thought out expressions like, okay, how do I want to organize this? How do I want to express this? What do I want to portray? Like, what am I trying to say here? Like before it's just like, like all emotion. Then, I have to go back and organize it later and I have to constantly work on it. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
shout out
That
to Cynical
reminds.
Insomniac.
That's wonderful. I tend to enjoy a prompt piece. I kind of try it. It sounds like we're very similar where we utilize a prompt piece that's a jumping off point of something that we want to kind of deal with. So like we kind of ride around the prompt, but the prompt helps us in almost a craft a writer's guild kind of a way, because like you said, in order to become a better writer, you have to write and you have to read and you have to study, which brings me back to this question that I meant to ask a little bit earlier. You have been checking out some various poetry communities. What other things have you learned recently through that, other than some cool prompts and things like that? You mentioned spoken word artists. What are some other things that has brought you to this kind of elevation in your own performance and craft?
Um, People's concepts in their poems, like some people's concepts are just like ridiculously crazy, and then I'm just like, man, I want to be able to craft something like that, you know. I
Yeah.
would say that's like the biggest.
That's pretty, yeah. I don't think I could say anything better than that. Yeah, there has been some pretty spectacular concepts that have been out there in the community for sure. I am also blown away by people who are performers for sure. Those spoken artists that at the drop of a dime can just perform at any given moment. I think we want to hear something else from you pretty soon, but before we do that, Andy, did you have any other questions as far as
No,
like this
I'm
goes right
just
now?
no. I'm just listening. I'm just trying to just really like I love everything that you're saying. It's just so
Mm-hmm.
true. Yeah, it's just like I'm the same way too with poets, especially not it's not been I've been in this community for since 2018. And every time I read a poem or a poem from a poet, it's just like, oh my God, like it's so crazy. Like, oh my God, I wish I could write like that. And Cynical Insomniac says, can I request a constructional piece? Is what she's
Mm-hmm. The
asking.
construction piece, please. I
Um,
love when we have requests. I love it. Oh my gosh, make your piece just fell. Hold on for everybody. You don't have to hold on for
Yeah,
me, but
no, that's fine. I just want to remind everyone that again, this is not an open mic segment. Because I have like three people on the queue, and I'm just explaining to people, yeah, the open mic's on Friday. This is just an interview with Tianna Morales for the podcast. This is what this is. So, sorry guys. But anyway, go ahead.
um, this is Ode to the Woman in Construction. This goes to the women in construction who wake up at 5 a.m. or earlier to be to work at 7, who spend 8 hours a day being undervalued and underestimated. I know you hate it because they don't think we can build these cities like we build these men, craft them in our stomachs for 9 months, demo our bodies to build them, and after we birth them, we continue to build them, their character, their hearts, just for them to try to tear us apart. They think less of us because our hands are small and the task is tall. But it was us who taught them to walk, and they only knew how to crawl. They say this business is hard on the body, like loving the wrong man, or any man for that matter, isn't, which we as women do many times in our life. And we can do that for a lifetime, constantly under construction. From the man's destruction, I can't tell you how bad my heart ached after a heartbreak due to a man. And after the kids are fed and in bed, the man is full and satisfied. The woman stays in the shower for a good cry to wash the tenderness down the drain, so she is drained. The women in construction still get up at 5 to be to work by 7 for 8 hours a day just to be undervalued and underestimated in the world we have created. I know you hate it.
Wow.
absolutely, Andy.
No, you go because like I know you have a lot to say, Angela.
Well, of course, I love a power piece like that just has that essence of strong femininity that just really says it how it truly is, when you're able to just break barriers, but at the same time, there's just no appreciation for it except for yourself. because you know how fucking hard it is and you know what you fucking did the whole entire time. And nobody's gonna give you credit but your goddamn self. So give yourself some goddamn credit. And so you gotta love shit like that.
Word.
It's real though. That's what it
Absolutely.
is. Like, because I think about, because I have a 4-year-old son myself. Um, I can honestly say this. I'm a man. I'm never gonna understand what women go through. I might have some kind of understanding because you could explain it to me, but unless I'm a woman myself, like biologically speaking, I'm never gonna understand the whole scope of the circle. This is why I don't understand why some men sometimes abuse women. I don't know. It just blows my mind that that's even a thing. But that's not really what I want to say. What I really want to say is 'cause I think about my wife. She stays at home, takes care of my son, and then when he goes to school, she does her thing or whatever. And it's just it is like a construction because the child is depending on you to form them and shape them into the person that they're going to be as they get older. And sometimes it's like when you build a building, one wrong misstep could change the whole face of what the original plan of how you wanted the child to be. Again, this is so many directions I can take this. It's interesting too because I feel like that's I don't know. Ever since I've become a father, I feel like I've understand my parents, but mostly my dad. I've understand my father a lot more now than I've ever understood in my entire life. And then when I see my wife, I understand my mom a whole lot more than ever because my mom put up through a lot of shit. We put her through shit that she had to hide from my dad because of the fear of how he was going to react. And it's like, I don't know, like, but I just love the fact that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
And she
it's just
holds
so,
up the
like,
whole world because of that sheet, because of everything, because anything could trigger a moment.
thank
As a
you.
woman, and you have to control everything, even if it's out
Right.
of your control, and it can drive you fucking mad. And people don't understand that. And also, as a parent, a lot of the times, and no offense to, there are many incredible fathers, but that's not what I'm saying. But at times we forget that the father watching their own child is not babysitting. You know what I mean? Sometimes we forget
Hmm.
there's kind of like a disconnect at times. And again, that's not. I'm not saying it's not all, but again, it's just the unspoken things that again
Yeah.
don't get mentioned because we don't take the time to acknowledge this. Uh, Tianna, we got to
Oh,
hear from
thank
you
you.
though. I mean, we're
Yeah.
digressing so much, but we got to hear from you,
You
of
you
course.
you took the words out of my mouth. Thank you, Angela. It's I think this is what you're the yin to my yang when it comes to like conversation because there was no way all that was coming out. So thank you for that. Wow. Because I feel like women lay the foundation for the house, and yeah, it's a husband and wife thing too. But I feel like without the woman, I feel like sometimes man can't completely lay the foundation because there's the foundation, and then I mean for some people like myself, then you have Jesus as the center of it, meaning there's the center and everything, but then there's a foundation that has to be set, and then there's a thing that has to go into place. And I feel like a lot of men forget that women are the backbone, they're the neck, they're the part that hey, when life weighs me down, you know we need you to lift us up, and vice versa. When white life weighs you down, I'm there to lift you up, and vice versa. But it's like you said, Angela, a lot of people, mostly men, they forget sometimes. Because yeah, you could provide all the money in the world, but are you providing relationship with your
Mm-hmm.
child? Are you
And
providing?
again, and there's
I,
dual
yeah,
both
Yeah.
parents work and stuff again like that too. So it just happens, and again, we just forget those things, and it's not on purpose. And again, this is not all; it's just in general. But Tianna, we want to
yeah,
hear from you because
yes,
again, your
please.
pieces are such conversational power think pieces. I mean, look at what we're going through here. We're like, gosh, we're like
Yeah.
BS
Whoo,
here.
It's
yeah.
funny like that you guys like see the metaphorical side of it, and I wrote this when I was literally working in construction, and I was just like frustrated about my whole job and, everything. But it's crazy. I didn't even see the metaphorical side of it until you guys just brought it up. That's pretty
Wow.
dope.
But that's
That's
the
pretty.
way it should be, though. It should be like that. Like, I don't think anything we do or anything we write should be one-sided. I think it should always be because I feel like that's what sparks up the conversation, if that makes sense. I think that's what opens it up. That's what that breaks the glass ceiling. Because if everything's just one perspective or two, and not three, four, five perspectives, then I feel like you could only go so far, if that makes sense. Right? Wrong? I don't
Hmm.
know. You guys agree?
Yeah,
But
absolutely. But I want to talk about this your construction
yes,
frustration. Can you talk about that? What was that like? I mean, how long ago was that? Because that absolutely is. Because again, I kind of I don't view myself. I'm kind of an everybody's everybody. I can hang with dudes. I can hang with girls. I don't have an issue with like gender or anything like that as far as like being comfortable. Where some people are girls and some people are guys and some people are guy girls and all that stuff like that as far as who your friends are and who you feel comfortable with. But to take on a job like construction, which is a great job, what an incredible
yeah,
experience you must have
yeah.
had. What was that like? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, before I started construction, I was in graphic design. Then I got laid off from graphic design, and then I went back to school for welding because my cousin told me that um, his the welders in his union made a lot of money. And when I looked up welding, it was interesting and it seemed like I could do it. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to school for this. And then I did, and then I got into the ironworkers union, and yeah, that's how I started construction work. Before I got in the union for ironworking, I didn't know what it was about. I thought it was just like welding. So, but when I started working, I realized, oh, I'm a whole ass construction worker. Like I'm doing a lot of stuff here and not a lot of welding, but uh, it was very rewarding, for me because in ironworking you do different things all the time, and I'm like the kind of person that gets bored, and I can't stay like in the same position for a long time. I can't stay in this stagnant. I always have to be learning new things or, just moving like so. That's why I liked construction. Well, I'm glad I liked it. I mean, I got in it because I wanted to weld, but then I just started doing a whole other aspects of ironworking, which was also great. So, um, yeah, I'm grateful for that. But that's how I got in
Wow.
it because I was like, well, ironworking makes a lot. I mean, welding makes a lot of money, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I could do it. And I need to make a lot of money. So it was like something you didn't have to go to school for a long time, and it's kind of hard to be replaced by machines. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like
Absolutely.
Wow.
that
Trades
kind of move.
trades are definitely very important and
Wow.
not to go down this avenue, but definitely in the education field, there's a lot of us educators that wish that there was more opportunity for our students to go through more pathways like that right away. But there are a lot of CTE programs out there, but you got to feel like a fucking badass, right? For doing
Yeah.
that. I hope you do, because that's pretty fucking badass.
That is
Yeah, it's pretty
wow.
cool. It's pretty cool.
Um,
It's badass.
yeah. The pretty provocative poet says, "Can you write me a poem, please?" Upside down smiley face.
Oh, I am not that skilled.
Oh my
But yeah,
God.
I mean,
Um,
it was a pretty fun job. That was also, like the fun aspect of it also. Like ironworking is always high. It's always on the bridge. It's always
Mhm.
skyscrapers. Like
Mhm.
it's always
Mhm.
high. So it's very like you got to stay focused. You got to be concentrated, and like that's the kind of job I need where I could just stay focused because I can't lollygag or I'm gonna get in trouble. So I need to like always be
Structure.
focused, always be, yeah.
It seems like
Yeah.
that's how you got into poetry, was through structure. And now that you were able to kind of get into your own voice, that's when you found your own voice. Um,
What?
Andy.
I think she's secretly a pyromaniac. That's what the provocative, pretty provocative poet says. He thinks you're secretly a pyromaniac. Is that true?
Um, no, I wouldn't go that far, but I do enjoy welding
So you must
and starting
not be
campfires.
starting campfires. There you go. Maybe then, maybe. What about candles? Do you light a lot of candles around your house?
Sometimes,
Uh-oh,
sometimes.
uh-oh. Well, I don't know,
I
Andy.
used to. I used to, but now that I have a 4 year old, so I can't really have
That's
candles in the house because he likes
true,
to touch
that's
and
true.
climb everything.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, the good old days of candling. Yeah. So you go ahead, Angela, because I'm like speechless right now. I'm still trying to process everything you guys are talking
Absolutely.
about because that is wild. You said welding and construct. That is wild.
It's pretty spectacular too, because like you said, to be up very high. So you must not be afraid of heights at all. Is that, are you kind of a daredevil? Is that kind of, are you a thrill seeker as well?
No, I don't want to have like a grim uh outlook on it, but it's just like it's there's really nothing to be afraid of. I mean, if you fall from this height, you're not going to survive, so you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry, like there's really nothing to worry
You
about.
don't
So
feel
that's
that
just
pit in your stomach feeling? Oh my gosh. I get a pit in my stomach, like feeling, like even throwing like laundry off my staircase, I can get like a pit in my stomach feeling. I don't know if it's like, you guys, I know you had to have, where you feel like you're about to fall asleep and you feel like you're falling through the bed,
oh yeah.
like that it jolts you up. Oh, that, oh, I hate that. You're okay with that?
Um, I don't really get that feeling when I'm iron working.
Because you're
I don't
okay.
Wow.
really feel
All
like,
right.
yeah, I don't really feel like, I'm high in the sky, or I just feel like it's a regular sidewalk. I don't really get that feeling of
Very cool.
nervousness or anything like that.
No, that's
Andy, are you scared of
badass.
heights?
That's yes and no. So no, I'm not afraid of heights in that regard, but yes, meaning like if it's too high, not that I get scared, but I get kind of nervous. Like, oh shit, I gotta be careful, because I've been in very high, like especially at work, where one time like a sign almost broke off. You know the stupid aisle signs, aisle one, aisle two, aisle three. One time, one of those things actually almost fell off, and I had to put the chain back on. But just looking down because it's really, really high ceilings in these retail stores, I'm like, oh crap, let me not look down. In that regard, yeah, but not in that thing. Even though one day my bucket list, I don't know if I'm gonna do it now, but when I was, single, I always wanted to go skydiving as a bucket list. But I think that's kind of off the table now because now that I'm a father, I don't want to die by accident. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do that too, but again, I'm not. I like being up high. I like being in small spaces, but again, the feeling of falling, it's like the pressure of falling, like the sensation of
Yeah.
falling is what I don't want. Um,
I think I would feel like more uncomfortable on like a roller coaster ride or like a carnival ride that has a drop like that
hmm
than working in
Being
the
up
air.
high.
Yeah, I don't really get that feeling just being up high. But falling like on roller coasters, I don't like that feeling. That's pretty uncomfortable.
hmm
Mm, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, so Angela, anything else? Or you know what? Why don't you read us another piece?
Absolutely. I think
Okay.
that's exactly what my head was at, Andy.
Yeah, we need thought-provoking pieces. I love this. Oh
Again,
man.
if you're just joining us, if you just came in a little bit not too long ago, if you're watching the replay, again, Tianna Morales, what you really bring to the table through your pieces are, again, serious philosophical conversational pieces, even though to you they feel like just personal. Um, oh gosh, how did we refer to it? How did you refer to it?
Reflective,
Um,
reflective and inner struggles.
Inner struggles, yeah, inner struggles in kind of a therapeutic mind. But again, it just connects us on so many alternate and complex levels. I'm so excited. What are we going to hear now?
Um, I think this is actually a prompt from the Misfits called the Father of Time. Here goes. The Father of Time lends a strand of his mind to each of his children. It is the currency, mining our lives for the essence of life, emotions, experiences, acquisition for his menagerie. Have you seen his collection of expressions? Time is the currency, a debt taken for granted, and that too will be collected by the Father of Time. No matter the price, we will always pay. Never will there come a moment time loses hold on the debt he's owed. We spend it chained in an imaginary prison, chasing money, a tender accepted only in our minds, not by the Father of Time, bending our lives for greenery, not for trees or earthly scenery, but for the lustful taste of money. We're taught time is money. Some spend it in luxury, many spend it alone. Others spend it in happiness, plenty spend it in sadness. Few spend it meaningfully. I spend mine in wonder, in love, with family. I'm careful when I collect my memories. I want to make sure my room in his museum has meaning. Sometimes I look up in the sky so we can see eye to eye. I can almost see his face, his whiskers of wisdom, the wrinkles in time. His guidance is written in the stars. If we just look up, we got it all wrong. We're forced to believe time is money, but time is the current. See?
Wow. Wow.
That last line, Andy, really, I really love that last line. Andy, I wanted you.
Thank
What
you.
did you have to say about this piece here?
Yo, my heart's thumping right now because I'm really trying to process. So, oh my God. Again, there's so many directions to take this, man. Um, what are your thoughts? Because I gotta process everything. I'm like on cloud nine right now. It's crazy.
Well, take your time,
I
Andy.
love this. I love your energy.
I know. Again,
Yo, it's
Andy's always
wow.
great. He always is really cool with his
Yeah.
an
Yeah, whole
analysis
vibe.
for sure. Again, to me, it's pretty spectacular what you were able to create with just a prompt. Before I go into my thoughts specifically, like taking that thought, that prompt right there, Father Time. Um, where did you go from there? Like, did you start with that line first, or did you have a feeling and it just matched that prompt?
Um, that might have been the first line of the prompt. I mean, I think I don't remember exactly which line the prompt was from, but it's like in the beginning. Yeah, I think it might be the Father of Time lends a strand of his mind.
Mhm.
I don't know. I gotta look back, but
Well, I mean,
it's in there
so what?
somewhere.
So where did you have like the theme that it just was in the forefront of your mind, and when you saw that prompt from them, it was like, boom, this is where I got to go with this.
It really helps a lot, like when we're in the workshop and we read our pieces and
Mm-hmm.
you hear the perspective from everyone else. You hear how they used it, and then you're just like, oh, I want to go a completely different
Oh,
way about it. And then you think like you know which way you want to go, and then you hear other people read their pieces, and their perspectives are like so dope and so crazy that you're just like, oh, I want to incorporate this, I want to incorporate that, and then boom, oh yeah, time is no friend of mine. Yeah, that was the prompt. The
mm-hmm.
prompt was time is no friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, I love what you said though. Exactly. Like time is no friend of mine can take on an infinitesimal amount of perspectives depending on what the author or the poet or the creator wanted to go with that. And for you to like take it down that way, and again, like that last line really just ooh. icing on the cake for me. Again, it makes you almost want to hear it all over again just to get to that last line. Just like, I don't know if you have a song like that. Sometimes the end of a song makes you want to listen to the same song all over again. Andy, have you got your thoughts collected now?
Yeah, so okay, and now that she's thank you for that correction. So, oh, so now we know even more. Somebody, so there was a piece I read a long time ago, by Brett, and one thing he said in his piece is that time shows no kindness. And it's so true. Time is no friend of, and I think the reason why time is no friend of mine is because time is not kind, meaning tomorrow's not promised. So just like that, I can go to sleep right now and I could not wake up tomorrow. And time does not care if
Right.
if you didn't get a chance to do everything you wanted to do. Like, oh well, it's like I feel like sometimes time can be like, oh, tough shit, you didn't get to do that. Oh well, kind of thing, because that's why I feel like we should always value our time, because if we take our time for granted, whatever we lose, that's it. We can't get that back, right? There's a quote that says, "Life could be understood backwards, but you have to you have to live forward."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in that
And
same way,
it kind of goes against what you said earlier, though. Not to throw this kind of your counterpoint back at you, but when you said that you wanted to go skydiving, but you didn't want to die accidentally, but at the same time, you could just not wake. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not gonna. I would.
No, but it
But
doesn't really go. It goes hand in hand, I think. I don't think it
oh,
goes
of course,
against
you
what I
don't need
said.
to
I think it
let.
goes hand in
No,
hand.
it's like how much do you really want to skydive is really the question, because again,
Right.
yeah, you got to play your cards right.
Yeah.
You can't double down on a 12. You can double down on 11 when you're playing blackjack. You know what I mean? You got to play your cards right, but still, I just want to say,
Yeah.
how
No,
bad do
I
you
get
really
what
want
you
to go
mean.
skydiving?
Yeah. No, I mean, now I could care less. Like, if I never go, I'm okay with that. But let's say, for example, I'd rather watch my son get older and graduate rather than go skydiving. Like, I'll live without the skydiving. Like, whatever. It is what it is. But I get what you're saying. Like, I get you, though. I get where you're getting at with that. I feel like that's when the time is wisely used, I guess, if that makes sense. Because what's more important, utilizing time to go skydiving or utilizing my time to maybe read a book that maybe could educate me about my life, or maybe having a conversation with my wife, because maybe that's more important, because maybe I could learn something from that, or just like I said earlier, watch my son graduate and go to school, or do whatever. Which
Mm-hmm.
my son did. He got a certificate for. I kind of have to kind of plug it in a little bit,
Go
but
for it.
there's like 4 different pre-Ks and stuff at my son's school. But anyway, he did pre-K 3, so this is so he
Yay.
completed this year. Yeah, because he has to be 5 years
Nice.
old to be actual kindergarten. He has to be 5 years old, so he's in pre-K 3. That is pre-K 4.
Yep.
Next year he'll be in kindergarten. But yeah, so he finished the school year with pre-K 3. So I just had
Big
to.
deal.
Yeah, and then he got me this too.
Oh,
He made me this.
cute.
Yeah, I just had to show off a little bit. I'm sorry.
Gotta show
But
off, Andy.
anyway, but yeah, yeah. So
When
we
I wrote
are.
like this poem, I was thinking about the Disney movie Soul. Is it Pixar or Disney? Might be Pixar.
Ooh,
Souls. Have you seen it?
No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
same.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah.
anyways, it's like long story short, this guy he dies and then he sees his whole life because he becomes a spirit. So in the movie, there's like a room of his whole life and he gets to see his life play out. That's like his room in a whole museum of souls. So that's where I kind of got the whole concept from. And it's
Wow.
dope that, you guys could see it differently.
Hmm.
You know what? I like that concept though, a museum of souls. Imagine if we had the opportunity before, like once we die, but then before we, because there's in some places, some people believe in reincarnation, some people believe in heaven and hell. But before we even get to that destination, the fact that imagine if we had the opportunity to actually go to a place and see our life play out. And then we're just
Or
wondering,
imagine
okay,
like if
maybe,
you knew for sure that all of your moments were going to be collected and like at the end of your life, that's what you were going to be able to watch. Like, would you be satisfied with what you did? Or would
Mm.
you want to
mm,
change some things? Would you live your life differently? Because, when you replay it back and you think about your daily habits, like if you go to work, you come home, you watch TV, you eat dinner, you go to bed, you do the same thing over and over. If you want to re-watch that, it's like that's a boring ass movie.
Hmm.
Like
yeah. But you know what's crazy though? But sometimes when you see yourself from your different, like let's say I saw myself. This is third person. But sometimes I feel like when I see myself from a different side of the perspective, I feel like that's when we see a different perspective of a situation. So like you said, yeah, it's a boring movie, but then I can, from this angle, I'm seeing myself like, okay, maybe because I was lazy or something, or maybe I felt very slothful, maybe I was very complacent, right? But then from another scale, I could see that as, oh, but I'm just relaxing after a hard day at work. Oh, well, this is my Zen moment. Like, that's so many perspectives you can see that in. But then let's say there's a situation. Let's say you're going through a breakup and, when you're actually going through it, it's like it hurts. But then we're wondering, oh, it's not my fault, it's her fault, his fault, whatever. But now when I see it from the other perspective, I see something I didn't see when pretty much that I wasn't self-aware of. That you see it from that perspective. And I'm like, oh, see, I never saw it like this. But then you go to the other angle, you saw something else you didn't see before. I'm like, oh, see, but I didn't see that way either, kind of thing. Because now it could have, because I could look at it as, oh, well, maybe the reason why she broke up with me is because maybe I was, not that I meant to be a jerk, but I came off as a jerk to her, and I'm looking at it from her perspective, like, oh, well, why would she still want to be around me if I'm acting like a jerk all the time? If that
mm,
makes sense. So there's so many directions to take that. So it makes sense what you're saying, though. Like, I think
yeah,
when
but
we,
also like I don't know, you kind of have to know the difference because there's one thing to like be lazy and stuff like that, and then unmotivated, and then there's another thing to just be, like stuck in a habit. Like you don't
mm-hmm,
even think about what you're doing anymore. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's enjoyable, but because it's a
You're
habit
numb.
and you haven't done anything else,
mm,
so you're
You become
complacent
numb
with
to
it.
it.
So,
You don't even
see?
realize
I
it.
think like if I were to see myself in third person, I wouldn't want to see myself stuck on being complacent,
Mm,
like that's how I look at kind of, like when I live my life. Because like I don't know, I need structure, I need patterns, I need
Yeah.
something that
And
is
that's why you're a
definite
badass.
to branch off of. I can't just like live life all willy-nilly and freely and winging it.
yeah.
Like I need to plan some aspect of it in order to feel like
Mhm.
at peace, I guess. I don't know.
You're
No,
climbing
it makes
new
sense.
heights.
No, and I love that. Again, the fact that we can see the same situation in more than one perspective is very interesting. Like it's like you said, if we had the opportunity after we die to see our life, there's so many perspectives. We'll probably understand things now that we never understood at the time that it happened. And as you get older, you get wiser, but there's just some things you're just not really gonna learn until later in your life, which is very interesting too. But yeah, what about you, Angela? What do you think?
I completely agree. Sometimes you don't know things until you know things, and that's all about becoming aware when the time is right. Um, we're getting kind of towards the end of our time featuring you, but I'd love to hear another piece if we have one more before we go.
Okay. Um,
Because as our guest is finding our last one on Friday, we have two interviews coming our way.
Yeah,
And Dave
we do. Yeah, yeah. It's Sparkly
Kaylee.
at 4 p.m. Sparkly at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I mean, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it's 9 p.m. UK, and then we have Dope Female Trainer at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and of course we have our open mic segment every Friday at 10 p.m. So that's gonna be fun.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, and then next week, um, okay. So originally I only had one live, but now we have two lives. The one was gonna be with DWT Poet, but now I just recently have another interview going on around 5 o'clock on next Friday. That's with Just Star Misdemeanor. So that's
Dang.
gonna be
Dang.
like, and that's gonna end season 5, and then the following was July 1st, which is with Andrew. I can't pronounce his last name, but that's gonna start
D
season 6. So
DFJ,
Wow, you
but it's
guys got
D.
a
yep,
busy
Yeah,
schedule.
but it's
yeah,
7/7. It's 7/7, Andy. The first
yeah.
July is 7/7.
So the fact
Nice.
that that's the first episode of season 6. So I can't believe we got 6 seasons in. That's crazy. And this platform has been through a lot. So it's wow.
So thank you so much, Tianna, for being with us tonight and being a whole part of this, because we couldn't do this without incredible poets just like yourself.
Thank you
And
for
again, if you
having
had,
me.
Of course.
it's been a pleasure for sure. And again, if you didn't get a chance to join us for the first quarter of our time with Tianna Morales, we did a craft chat talking about her crocheting artistic talent as well. So definitely check that out if you didn't get a chance to earlier. So
Yes, and yeah. No, I was
go
gonna
ahead,
say
Andy.
too. Even with this, well, once this is done, obviously I'll have this on the podcast as well. I'll make the announcement after it's uploaded and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you again. And yes, PJGSR1 says, thank you for this interview. Escape Artist is insanely profound.
Thanks. The poem that I'm going to read last, this is like the first time that this is like my transition piece. Like, this is when I started transitioning from straight rhyming to a little bit of, free thoughts. So I would say like this started my journey on my writing pattern now. That makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay, here we go. It's called Regret. I know what this is. It's regret. This is what you feel like. When I touch you, when you touch me, it feels like regret because you don't look beyond the surface. You don't even run your fingers through the water. You use me to float and soak up the sun rays. I try to entice you to dive deeper, see the tropical fish and corals I can produce, but you devour the life in me. I understand at times I may produce maverick waves, waves that make it impossible to swim, because sometimes I try to drown you, force you to dive deeper, but you only care about the calm sea, the easy water. You didn't build your boat to weather the storm, you built it for smooth sailing. You fish for what you need, for what you eat. You discard the bodies you've used in me. You pollute my seas. You don't care about the treasures in me. I assure you I'm worth it. If you can hold your breath long enough, I'll show you what lies deeper, what makes me a keeper, what other divers have died trying to see. Creatures that don't come to light but make light in me. You claim you can't swim. I know you can. You just won't. And when you leave, I'm left to deal with me, with the storm you brewed, with the emotions you don't. All I want you to do is bear with me, surf the waves. But you won't even get your feet wet. You don't trust me to bring you to safety. You'd rather watch from ashore as I tear myself apart. And when the rain stops, you return. I don't know why I allow you to float on the peace I've built and rest in the sunshine I provide. I don't know why I allow you to trouble my waters, because all you do is take from me. You take the easy, the calm, the peace. When you come to me hungry, I open myself and feed you things I need. You take from me constantly, and yet you don't want me. You'd rather swim in pools, puddles, shallow waters. I am more than that. I am an ocean, challenging. I build character. Though I can be destructive, I breathe life. I'm full of things you never know. things you never cared to explore. I know what this is. I know what this feels like. Like we were never friends, never lovers. Like I was a destination you wanted to visit but never wanted to stay. Like we should have never met. I used to feel like you loved me, but this is different. This feels like regret.
Oh my, wow. Wow. Uh, yeah, that, wow. Yo, I don't think you realize how thought-provoking your pieces are when you're just thinking, oh, it's nothing. No, it is something. It matters. Wow.
Understanding came through already.
This is
Absolutely.
this is
It's
intimacy gone wrong. Like
this is
that's
an
the way
adult
that spoke to
piece.
me.
Absolutely.
This is
Andy, like,
intimacy gone for grantedly wrong. I don't know if that's even a word sentence, but you know what I mean. I think.
absolutely. I think you said it.
Holy shit. We take
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
intimacy for
everybody needs
granted.
that like that real like heart shaking heartbreak to like shift their life.
Hmm.
You know, like
Yeah. Wow. We
I feel
take
like that
intimacy
shifted
so for
everybody.
granted. Oh, wow. That was good. That was
Thank you.
that was
And that was a
fucking wow.
transition piece. Like again, like you said, this is like where you really just kind of turned a corner
Yeah, I feel like
and
that's why
became
it's kind of
somebody.
long, because it was just like, like feelings coming out, and I just didn't know where to end it. So
Mhm.
this was just like, everything was just like all on the page. But then I just,
It's
you know,
yeah.
branched off of this.
It
Wow.
feels like an adult piece. Like again, like you said, this transition. It feels like an evolution. It feels like a damn, like Andy said, this is an
Now
adult
that you
piece.
said that,
Yeah.
I feel like this could be like the piece where like I grew up, like I became an adult.
Hmm.
I started
Hmm.
writing like an adult. Yes.
It's and Andy, and not to bring it back up, but it reminds me of House on Mango Street, Susan Cisneros. Again, it's a coming of
Yeah.
age vignette, and again, this is where the turning moment is. Like you can just feel the adultness that just blossomed, but it's not a blossoming. It's a boom. It's a bang. It's a damn. Like fuck, this is adult. This is no kid. This is a fucking adult, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. It's raw and beautiful. Andy,
Thank you.
what a great piece to end our night on, Andy.
Yeah.
Again, it's been incredible to highlight you tonight. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun, and it's been so cool, like, just talking about poetry. I love it. Like I love talking about things that I'm passionate about. Like I'm not like the most talkative person, but when it comes to things that I'm passionate about, I love it. It's great. I just love creative talk.
Yeah,
And,
Wow.
I mean, it's
yeah.
always a privilege to have incredible talent like yourself on because, again, thought provoking pieces connect us because, as personal as these pieces are, it really is something that's universal in time. Again, so like Andy, last words or last comments? Because, again, I just want to say thank you for
Uh,
you joined us tonight.
damn. That's
See y'all on
damn.
Friday.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, Tiana? Any last thoughts?
Mhm. Well, what's next for you? What do you got next?
No.
Do you have anything coming up
Um,
down the pipeline, or you're just going to continue to keep working on the craft right now?
like I do have a goal of writing a book, but also right now I just want to get better as a writer, and I want to learn how to be like a spoken word artist because I think that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on like this little kick in my life. I don't know what's going on, but I'm making it like a habit to do things that make me uncomfortable. So I'm trying to, improve on my performance so that way I could be able to get out in front of people and actually improve and get to a point where it's not uncomfortable and it's actually enjoyable because I really do love poetry, but sharing and performing is not always the best, like the easiest. So I guess that's my goal.
Understood. Well, I'll tell you what, you have the voice for it for sure. I could definitely hear you reading or performing your poetry. You have the voice for it. So I look forward to seeing you
Thank you.
continue to work on this and absolutely keep us completely posted on every opportunity we can to highlight you because we would love to continue to do that. All right,
Thank you
Andy.
Yes.
so much.
So, guys, thank you for joining us. Tianna, thank you for just saying yes to us and doing this thing, this interview with us. Thank you for your thought-provoking process and the way it just opened up a crazy amount of conversation. Thank you guys for joining us, for your comments, for just everything, guys.